book dragons, it's Alyssa. Welcome back to my channel. I am bringing you a very late July wrap up. I planned on having this up earlier in the month, but the month of August just went to hell. You will see that in my August wrap up, which I am filming next, and not even going to pretend that I'm not filming like 4 to 5 videos in one day. So you're going to be seeing this look in several upcoming videos. So in the month of July, I participated in the Book Junkie Trials, which was created by Rachael Marie Book Junkie. I'll put a link to her channel in the description box down below. But it was a wonderful readathon, a bunch of prompts, different teams. I was on the mage team. We didn't win, but I feel like we won in spirit. So in the month of July, I read 10 books. It wasn't a fantastic reading month. I think the majority of the books were mid-rating as far as the star rating goes. Since there are several books on this list, I'm not going to go through like a big synopsis for each of them. I'm probably just going to summarize them in 1 to 2 sentences, if that, and give you my star rating. I'm also not going to go in any particular order. I just stacked them and that's the order I'm gonna go through them. The first book on my pile is Howls Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This is like a magical children's middle grade story about a girl who gets transformed into an old woman and goes to Howls Moving Castle to try and break the spell. I thought it was really long and didn't need to be, and I mean, I'm talking, the font is very big, but I just felt like I was never going to get through this story. So it was a good read. It wasn't incredible, it wasn't disappointing. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I also read Stardust by Neil Gaiman. It is an adult fairy tale where there's this beautiful land beyond the wall that's like a fairyland, and a star gets knocked down from the sky. And then there's this boy named Tristan who goes over the wall into this magical fairy tale world to bring the star back home. I've already read it. I read it a while ago and I loved it. As far as an adult fairy tale goes, it was very solid in my opinion, but I do have to say I enjoy the movie more. The movie Stardust happens to be one of my favorites ever. If you weren't a fan of the book, check out the movie. I do think that in this case the movie is better than the book, but I did give it 4 out of 5 stars just because I love Neil Gaiman. I loved this story and I would love it if there was a part 2. Next is Lumberjanes Volume 1, Beware the Kitten Holy by Noelle Stevenson. This is a graphic novel series about a group of campers who notice that there's monsters and things going on in this camp, and they get wrapped up in what's going on. I was hoping for something like Gravity Falls vibes. I thought that would be awesome, but it was just very young. I just wasn't the biggest fan. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I think I'll continue with the series, but only if I'm doing like a readathon and I need a quick read to fulfill a prompt. Continuing with the graphic novel trend, I picked up The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. It's a very cute story about the prince who hires a dressmaker or a seamstress to design dresses for him to wear out on the town at night. And he is coming to terms with his identity and who he is and who he wants to be versus who his parents and the entire country tell him he needs to be. And at the heart of it, it's just a beautiful story between the two of them. I did like it. I thought it was very cute and it was a quick read. There's something about it that it was meh for me as well. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. 3 for me is a good rating. It means I enjoyed it, but it wasn't incredible and it wasn't terrible. It was okay. It was good. It was average. If people asked me if I enjoyed it, I would tell them I did, and I would recommend it. So I do recommend picking this book up, but it's not going to be life-changing or like your favorite read of the year or anything like that, but it's definitely worth reading. Another graphic novel that I read in July was Nimona by Noelle Stevenson, and oh my gosh, did I love this story so much. I'm gonna tell you right now that I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I love this story. I want more. I want an entire like huge series of it. It's just So stinking cute. So it follows this villain who's not really a villain. He gets cast as the role of the villain in this story. Nimona finds him and decides that she wants to be his sidekick, and she's a shapeshifter and has this special magic. But there's just so many beautiful relationships in this story. I just loved it so much. I highly recommend picking this up. Please do yourself a favor and read it. It is just so good. Y'all, I didn't realize how many graphic novels I read, but I also picked up Coraline by Neil Gaiman. It's not that thick. This is definitely for a younger audience, and I think that a middle schooler picking this up when it's dark and spooky out, this would be really good. I just thought that part of the story development wasn't there. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, even though I loved it, the illustrations. I loved Coraline as a character. I just wanted a little bit more, and I'm not sure what. I know for the read a book with a dragon on the cover prompt, I read The Tea Dragon Society because it's a very quick read by Katie O'Neill. Everyone and their mom, I feel like, buzzes about this story and loves it and thinks it's so cute. While the illustrations are super adorable and I like the representation they have in this book, it's not really anything. There's like really not really that much of a story and not that much of anything, and it's very childish in the dialogue. So I was expecting like this really cute story, and I don't really even remember if there was a story. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars because the illustrations are adorable, and I remember enjoying myself while I read it or looked through the pages. Because the illustrations are so cute, and the idea of the tea dragons is just adorable, and I liked the representation in this story. I just don't think there really was much of a story. So one of my most anticipated releases of the year was The Adventure Zone Volume 2 Murder on the Rockport Limited by the McElroy family. So the entire concept of this series is based on a podcast where some brothers and their dad play Dungeons and Dragons in real time. I definitely have listened to that podcast and love it. I love this series so much. I picked up the first book, I think in December, and fell in love with it. This is the second installment where there's a murder on a train and they have to figure out what's going on. And they're just so freaking sassy. Like, all of the main characters in this story are just sassy as can be, and dorky and goofy and don't really care, and I love it because the stakes are so high in this story, but they just don't care, and I love it so much. Taco's my absolute favorite character in any graphic novel ever. I love this. I can't wait for volume 3. 5 out of 5 stars if you couldn't tell. I enjoy it. I'm going to read it again by the end of the year. The last 2 books I have on this list are not graphic novels. The first one is The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is the first book in the Witcher series. It follows Geralt, who is a witcher, and witchers have special abilities, or they're able to channel special abilities to kill different monsters, but they're kind of looked at as monsters as well, and witchers aren't really liked in this world. Geralt is injured while fighting a monster, so half of this book takes place while he's recovering, and the other half takes place as like thinking back on other times that he fought certain monsters. There's fables in here, there's twists on fairy tales, there's monsters, there is blood, but I don't think it's too gory. I'm not one who likes a lot of super dark gore, horrific, unnecessary bloodshed, but I didn't think that that was the case in this book, even though it's kind of like a dark fantasy series. But I will warn you, there are monsters, so that is a bit dark and gory, but it didn't bother me. But I do love the way that he twisted fairy tales and different fables around in this story. So I'm very excited to read the second one, and I just loved this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I cannot wait to get like really into the series because the next book is also another set of short stories. And then the last book that I have in this pile for books I read in July, I'm not sure if you have heard of it, and it's kind of like this really like low-key, no one's talking about it, like no one's reading it book, and that is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I read it at the very beginning of July before all the buzz started, so a couple things going into this book that helped my experience more, because I feel like you either love this book or you hate this book. So I have seen other people do wrap-ups of An Enchantment of Ravens, which is her debut novel, and one of the things that they talked about was the emphasis on romance, and that like her writing is very magical, she's very good at world building and character development, but the romance was very distracting. So I went into this story knowing that there was probably 99% chance there was going to be a lot of romance. My favorite part about this story was the books, the fact that it's set in a magical library, and then also Silas as a character was my favorite character of the year, I think. I just love him as a character, and I want another book just from his point of view. I do have to say I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Again, it's because I loved Silas so much, but there were so many magical moments in this book and I can't stop thinking about it, and I've literally told everyone and their mom that they need to read this. So thanks for sticking around and watching my very, very late July wrap up. I will see you soon with another video. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to join the Book Dragon family, hit that subscribe button down below. And as always, until next time, remember to be nice to yourself and be kind to others.